When I was 18, I experienced domestic violence while pregnant. And honestly, the domestic violence itself wasn't the hardest part for me, but more so the aftermath of it. So the same night that it happened, I texted my manager and I just told her that I wasn't coming into work the next day. She probably assumed that I was just depressed about some other things that she knew I was going through at the time. But in actuality, I just didn't want to have to explain to anybody why I had a busted lip, why I couldn't talk to customers because my throat hurt from being choked, why I had bruises on my arm, etc. So I ended up not going to work for 2 weeks. That first week was probably the hardest for me. I didn't shower. I barely remember brushing my teeth. I didn't eat. And I know some of y'all probably like, girl, what you mean you ain't take a shower for a whole week? And honestly, it's easy to say that will never be you until it is you. But that was me. Honestly, I didn't have anything in me to do those regular everyday things like eating, taking a shower, whatever else, because I was using everything in me to want to stay alive. Whenever I was home alone, that's when it was the hardest for me. That's when the devil really tried to get me. That's when I would hear him say things to me like, this is the worst pain you ever been through. You're not strong enough to make it through this pain. You're not strong enough to endure this situation that you're going through right now. So why won't you just end it? You're pregnant. You're a single mom now. You're a teen mom at that. And I wanted to give in so badly. At the time, I thought it was my own strength that got me through that situation. But really, it was God's. When I was 18, I was deep in my sin. Like, in it for real. So if you would have asked me at the time if I felt like I was worthy of God's love, of his compassion, his mercy, his grace, his kindness, all of the things, I would have told you no. And of course, now I'm more spiritually mature than I was when I was 18. So now I know how to call on God, how to sit with God. I know how to listen carefully for God's voice. Some people may think that God's voice is loud. Really, God speaks in the stillness. Really, God's voice is very quiet and very subtle. And you have to know how to listen in the middle of the quiet, in the middle of the stillness, because essentially that's when he talks the most. But despite me not knowing how to call on God when I needed him, despite me not knowing how to really sit in the presence of God, he still fought for me. And I say all that to say that even though we may not always see God working, even though we may not always hear God speaking, even if it feels like we're farther from God than we've ever been, he's always there for us and he's always fighting for us. Even if we don't see anything happening in the physical, God is always fighting for us in the spiritual. The Bible says that God will never leave us nor forsake us. And if it's one thing about God, he is not a liar. Even if you feel like you are undeserving of God's love, his love is everlasting.